Hey guys, welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame. We're here to talk tight ends for week 7 on the waiver wire. If you play the streaming game or you just need a tight end to fill in for a bye, injury, whatever it may be, got you covered. Always have you covered each and every week on the waiver wire. We talk quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and of course, tight ends too, just not kickers. We don't do that. Hopefully this helps you. Again, if you ever have specific questions about a player, whether it be a start sit question, a waiver wire, whatever, hit us up, follow us at Endgame Fantasy, or you can leave a comment right here after you hit that subscribe and that little bell. All right, let's get to it though. Tight end is just not great, right? It's not a great position in general. If you have a top guy, you're safe. If you don't, you're probably struggling. And you know what? The waiver wire, I'm not going to lie, this week, it seems to be thinner than ever. My top recommendation, who I would say is number one, has a bye this coming week, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's break down our top 5, starting with number 5, and I'll go with Logan Thomas because Logan Thomas caught a touchdown. Logan Thomas looked sort of like he did in week 1 when he was involved and was one of our top waiver wire picks back then. And Logan Thomas is not somebody that you want to trust on a weekly basis, but he's got at least a little bit of value if you're streaming tight ends. Don't know if there's going to be necessarily a connection now that Kyle Allen is the at least current quarterback for Washington. But Thomas was involved. He had a decent target share. There's not a whole lot of other options on this team. So I feel like he is somebody who could be startable. The main appeal with Thomas, I say if you need a streamer for this week and this week only, he might actually be your top option just because the matchup going against Dallas is one of the better defensive matchups versus that tight end and just in general. So I feel like you could start Thomas as long as you temper your expectations. Really, you're hoping for a touchdown out of him. But, you know, he was the guy. And here's the other thing. Talked about how there's not a lot of other receivers in Washington. There's no other tight end that's competing with him for snaps. He was in on 63 snaps offensively for the team. The next closest was Jeremy Sprinkle, and he was in for 11. So if you're looking for somebody who at least has the opportunity, I think Thomas is your guy. All right, now talk about injuries. My number 4 pick here is going to be the replacement, sort of, for Zach Ertz. Not sure exactly what the deal is with Ertz. You know, he left the game early and immediately saw Jason Kroom catch a touchdown. Let's just forget about that. That was the only catch, the only target. That was the only play, the only actual offensive snap which Jason Kroom was on the field for. All right. He caught that touchdown. Richard Rodgers was the main guy going in. He's been seeing a lot of snaps, just not a lot of targets necessarily, but that's going to change if Ertz is out. This is a Thursday game, so obviously you're going to have to move fast, but also that does make us think that Ertz might not play. Of course, we don't know yet, but waiver wires don't wait, right? They don't wait. You need to make your claim in pretty soon. If you think you need to pivot from Ertz, then Rodgers is kind of the insurance policy. Not a high-end option just because we know that he's been, you know, a backup his whole career. He didn't do a whole lot with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He hasn't really done much here, but I mean, this offense has got to go somewhere, right? After Travis Fulgham, who else they got? So unless you see Alshon Jeffrey back or Deshaun Jackson, they're hurting. Okay, so no Ertz, no Sanders, and if those receivers don't come back, by default, Rodgers might get a decent amount of targets, and he is at least streamable for this week. Honestly, I'd rather not have a piece of that Philly offense at all if possible, but we don't always have that choice. So my number 3 pick here is going to be a guy who I really have been high on and really let us down in the beginning of the season. That's Irv Smith. But you know what? He's finally coming alive. So the last 2 weeks, 4 catches, 64 and 55 yards, which is not amazing. I get that. He hasn't scored a touchdown either. But you know what? If you're playing the streaming game at tight end looking for somebody outside the top 10, I mean, that's actually not too bad. He'll probably find the end zone eventually. The problem is week 7, he is off. So this is really a stash. We don't like to stash tight ends, especially as a backup. So I get it. But this is somebody, at least if you can afford to stash him, then do it. Or if you're looking for somebody that, you know, might be worth replacing a guy like you're disappointed in Ertz, or you have another tight end that you're just not big on. keep him stashed, drop your other guy, stream somebody for this week. But Irv Smith is a guy we know he's in there to catch the ball. That's what he's in there for. He's not a blocking tight end. They finally decided to go to him, and good things are happening for that offense, right? The passing game at least has some life, right? They can't just throw to Thielen and Jefferson. So I like Irv Smith the rest of the season, but I get if you need somebody for this week, you might want to wait. He's only 9% rostered. It's not like, he's being scooped up everywhere. He probably won't get added anywhere this week just because he isn't playing. So just somebody more to keep in mind later on. All right, so for number 2, I'm going to go with a guy that I've been on the last 2 weeks, and he's been on it, and that's Darren Fells. Love the matchup. All right, the fact that Jordan Akins has been out has led to increased opportunity, and sure enough, he's cashed in 2 weeks in a row. Darren Fells has scored a touchdown, and he's gotten good yardage too. He went for 57 last week, even more this week, 85 yards. That's pretty good. If you're getting 85 yards and a touchdown from your tight end, especially somebody you scooped off of waivers, you're thrilled. Probably won't do that this week. That's the only problem. Fells has been on. Now, I don't know if Akins is coming back. There's word that he might be, and that kind of might push Fells back a little bit. I don't think I'm too worried about that because Fells wasn't the only tight end there last year, and he scored 7 touchdowns last year. So I'm not as worried about that. The only issue with Fells is the opponent this week going against the Packers. I know they look terrible this past week. They had not given up a touchdown to the tight end until Gronk. That's right. Gronk went off for one, had a pretty good game himself. I don't think they were expecting that. I think this whole game just went awry for them. Still generally a tough defense against tight ends. And again, Fells might not get quite the target share that we're used to these last couple of weeks. I still like him, though. I think he's still streamable. If you're going for a week 7 pick only, it's between him and Thomas for me. So I still like Fells number 2, but the number 1 pick has to be Anthony Firkser. That's right, Anthony Firkser. Who else? He was the top scoring tight end, and I mean the top scoring out of all tight ends so far this week. Kelsey's still yet to play, but we'll see if he can top Firkser. Jonnu Smith has been this year's breakout tight end, and so of course, just to spoil our fun, he got hurt, left with an ankle injury. Not sure what his status will be. You're gonna have to kind of monitor it throughout the week. If Jonnu Smith does not play, Firkser is a guy who could get targeted. It sure happened this week. He went off for 113 yards on 8 catches and a touchdown. That's not something that even Smith had done. Smith had scored a few touchdowns, and Smith had some decent games. He did not have a 100-yard game like Firkser did. So where did this come from? It came out of nowhere because that amount, that total yardage, that's half of his total yardage from last season, right? And the season before, he had never gone over 250 total yards in a season. Now he's gone for 113 in one game. Don't expect it to happen again. And also don't expect them to play Houston's defense again. So if you're looking for a short-term fix, and especially if you're a Jonnu Smith owner, you've got to pivot to Firkser. Also does not have a great opponent this week as far as going against the tight end. But you know what? Times are tough in the tight end waiver wire, and I think Firkser is probably got as much upside as anybody out of all these choices. So as long as you keep your expectations in check on this one, I think you'll be okay. You're hoping for a touchdown, really. The way Tennessee's offense is rolling, wouldn't be surprised if he cashes in again. All right, so that's tight end waiver wire for week 7. Guys, if you have specific questions, follow us at Endgame Fantasy. Hit us up with a question or leave us a comment right here after you hit subscribe. We appreciate it. Don't forget Endgame Live every Sunday morning. We'll answer all your last-minute start-sit questions. We're here to help you win. That's it. All right, thanks for watching.